Then we have Politico, which is a left-wing so-called news outlet, which seems to be one of the favorite outlets for the Speaker of the House, where he's trashing conservatives. And here we have some of his hacks out here, and a new one. Guy just elected from Idaho, a freshman, Mike Simpson. I don't know who the hell Mike Simpson is. But let's start at the beginning. Some veteran Republican House members are pushing back against conservative deficit hawks who are pushing for endlessly deep spending cuts, saying the right wing of the party, see, this is what we are now. The right wing, we are the damn party, you damn fools. What, we have the Nelson Rockefeller wing represented by the Speaker and the leadership? Oh, yes, we are the extremists who believe in the Constitution and fiscal integrity. Yes, we're the extremists that think this spending is out of control. How about that? Right-wing extremists. You know, a right-wing extremist used to be some nutjob who walked into a place and threw a Molotov cocktail. Now it's somebody who defends the Constitution of the United States and believes in fiscal integrity. Unless we forget this Republican leadership was in this House through much of this disaster. Many of the critics are close to Speaker Boehner, who struggles more each day to keep his majority unified as a 3-month spending showdown threatens to spill into April. The House passed $6 billion of spending cuts Tuesday, brings the total to $10 billion. And yet, to get the Bush tax cuts for another 2 years, they increased spending $55 billion. You know, at this level, we're going to go broke in a year. Well, more deficit, $55 billion they agreed to, but we're cutting 10, and they want your applause. And if you disagree with them, there's something wrong with you. Yep, it is surprising, said freshman Republican from Idaho, Mike Simpson, said of the difficulty convincing hardliners. Oh, now we're hardliners. That leadership is cutting large amounts of spending. He said, this is 3 weeks. We're cutting $6 billion, you know. It is surprising. This is the only time in my life where I can cut $6 billion in a 3-week period and be called a liberal. Hey, dummy, $72 billion spent today. Yes, you should be called a liberal. And a dummy. We'll be right back. Yeah, you have to be smart and thoughtful and committed to listen to this program. Welcome, I'm Mark Levin. Our number 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. Have you noticed? Wayne Pearcy over there on my Facebook site makes a good point. Have you noticed when they spend $6 billion, it's a pittance. But when they cut it, the earth shakes. When they spend $1 trillion, it's a down payment. Remember? It's a down payment on health care. When they cut $6 billion, it's, well, I've never seen anything like this. We actually cut $6 billion. They're trying to dumb you down. They're trying to get you into this Washington think. Well, I'm not buying into it, and neither are you. And when you go to that town hall meeting with your new freshman, who wasn't one of the brave 54, to vote against Obamacare, I mean, effectively against it, not just as a symbol, you make sure you tell that freshman, or any of them who voted for this 3-week continuing resolution, I guess I'm one of the extremists you're asking that I vote for you. You're asking me to vote for you. Oh, yes. We call ourselves Constitutionalists and Conservatives, fiscally responsible citizens. I guess I'm one of those. I mean, if you don't, they're going to keep doing it. And the sad thing is, the Democrats are successfully backing them in a corner. They're laughing. They see Boehner as weak. I believe they're going to do what they can to shut down the government, or that portion of the government that they're able to shut down, for political reasons. And Boehner's sitting there attacking conservatives, attacking the people who gave him his speakership, us, rather than going to the American people over the head of the liberal media, using conservative media outlets like talk radio. Not this one. I don't want the guy on. I can't take them anymore. I'm careful about what guests I want on this program. I always have been. Oh, he's a Republican leader? I could care less. That doesn't do anything for me. People on this program who are substantive and serious and aren't saying, look, everybody back me or we'll show weakness. No, everybody back the Constitution. We're all trying to protect our families and our communities. We're not going to back the Speaker of the House who's involved in a fan dance. Now, speaking of shutting down the government, who today is shutting down essential parts of the government? See, again, think of Reagan and Thatcher and others, Churchill, really effective, intelligent, iconic type leaders, and what they were capable of and why they were capable of it. They don't accept the world as provided to them through the language of the left. They reject it. So, according to the Houston Chronicle, federally paid National Guard troops are about to leave the U.S.-Mexico border by June 30th. So who then is weakening the border by shutting down, in part, our security on the border? Obama. So why don't we say it? Obama's shutting down essential services. When he slashes NASA, so we won't even have the capacity to send an astronaut out of the atmosphere, into the atmosphere. Well, if he gets on a plane, I guess, but on a rocket. First time since the late 1950s. Republican Democrat presidents. Why aren't they out there talking about how Obama is shutting down an essential part of the government? Obama can't wait to slash into the military, to slash into law enforcement, to slash into the intelligence services, to slash into border security. He can't wait. So who's shutting down what exactly? Or let's try this one. Who's shutting down the private sector? Or big chunks of it? Who's shutting down millions and millions of jobs? Who's shutting down small business and big business? Business period. Who's shutting down oil drilling and coal mining? What is it going to take for these Republicans to learn how to speak, to learn how to think, to show some confidence, to advance American principles? What is it going to take? Why are they so fearful and weak? I don't know. I don't know. But where was that? I was very glad to hear that while Boehner's sending out his hacks to attack us on and off the record, they also passed this information on to Politico from the Speaker's office, apparently. In the heat of an intense budget debate in Washington, Speaker John Boehner is hosting President Obama and Vice President Biden for lunch on Thursday. Oh, how sweet. But government funding isn't on the menu. After all, it's St. Patrick's Day. In what is a decades-old tradition in Washington, the Ohio Republican will host the President, Vice President, and Irish Prime Minister Edna Kenny for the Friends of Ireland luncheon Thursday afternoon in the Rayburn Room in the Capitol. It's an illustrative moment in D.C. Even when partisanship and sniping are at their highest point, traditions like this luncheon endure. It's a widely attended event. Lawmakers from both parties typically attend. This year, musicians Martin Hayes and Dennis Cahill will perform. So, the traditions go on. Reckless spending, lunch, honoring St. Patrick's Day. Wonder who's going to pay that bill. Oh, you and me, I'm sure of that, but who's going to pretend to pay the bill? Meanwhile, well, our guys are doing everything they can, everything humanly possible, to cut $6 billion. Our good friend Big Dick Trumpka, may I call him Big Dick? Big Dick Trumpka, the boss who runs the AFL-CIO. Well, he had something to say recently. Hat tip our buddy Dan Reel. Cut 2, go.
Let me thank you for Nancy Pelosi. Without Nancy Pelosi, healthcare wouldn't have happened because all the guys that were sitting around the table wanted to fold their cards and go for these little itty-bitty fights, and she's the one that had the backbone to say no. We stuck together, and we got a historic victory and drove it down the Republicans' throat.
So there they are driving, that's Big Dick Trumpka. There they are driving things down our throats because they're not going to do this little itty-bitty stuff, not bits and pieces. No, that's for Boehner. That's for the Waffle House. Let me ask you a question. I detest Nancy Pelosi. I really do. She is our opposition. She is a ideologue, a leftist. I think she's a hater. I really detest the lady. Don't you admire just a little bit her tenacity? Don't you wish for a second that Boehner had at least an ounce of Pelosi's tenacity? You know, you can be moral and ethical and have tenacity. Timidity isn't moral and ethical, particularly in the face of immoral and unethical government activity that is going to collapse this society. By the way, somebody told me that the Republican leadership in the House is saying, Boehner in particular, look, we've always faced this situation where we're told the deficit's too big and it's dire and the economy's going to collapse, and we always come out of it, we produce it. So he views this as just another cycle. So all these reports by these civil servants telling us that these entitlements are unsustainable. All these reports by superb think tanks telling us that Obamacare is unsustainable. All these countries trying to dump the dollar as their main currency. to swap it out for something else. Don't worry about any of that. We go through these cycles, is how he and they think. I'm serious. This is what I was told. Well, here's how I think. I don't want the government telling me what prescriptions I can and can't have. I don't want the government telling my parents when their life is up. I don't want the government telling me what procedures are approved and are not approved, what insurance I can purchase and what insurance I can't purchase. I don't want the government destroying my options by eliminating insurance companies and creating a single-payer program, which we know is what they want to do. I don't want Canadian health care. I don't want British health care. I don't want all this government in my medicine cabinet, in the operating room, in the doctor's office. So even apart from the money, this is a civil rights issue. This is an individual rights issue. A government that has the power to not only control your finances, but to control what medical decisions you make, is a government that's absolutely out of control and is in a position to abuse. That's the main reason we need to get rid of Obamacare, apart from the money. So this is an extremely serious matter that affects each and every one of us. It's not an academic issue. We can put the green eye shades on and debate the spending, and we must. But this is going to also affect each and every one of you. It already has. I can remember all these calls from people on Medicare calling. By the way, we have 8.5 million listeners, and that includes a lot of people on Capitol Hill and in these think tanks. And I had caller after caller during this healthcare debate say, Mark, what would you do? What would you do? What would you do? And every single time, we can go back to the archives, but I'm not going to waste my time. I'll let the other hosts play their own voices. And I said every damn time, I adopt the Goldwater policy. And the Goldwater policy is this. People who are already on Social Security and Medicare, who've already paid into it, who are not able to plan for alternatives or options, they should get exactly what they were promised. People who are close to being on Social Security and Medicare, who already organized their lives and their finances around the expectation that their government wasn't running a Ponzi scheme, which was fair for most of their lives as an expectation, they too should get exactly what was promised to them. But younger generations should be weaned off these, well, let me use the word the bureaucrats use, unsustainable entitlements. They should be allowed to invest in alternatives that might actually be there when they're at retirement age. Because if we don't do that, they're not going to have Social Security or Medicare anyway. I'm talking about the 20-year-olds and 25 and 30 and 35 and 40 and 45-year-olds. Those two generations need to be weaned off, need to have other options, and the only thing standing in the way is the government. I just love it when liberal politicians say, we're the ones who invented Medicare and Social Security and Medicaid. Without us, they wouldn't exist. At the very same time, they've destroyed them. No, they stole the money out of these so-called trust funds to piss it away on any imaginable idea that they had, and then they want credit for creating the programs that they've destroyed. I guess we should all give a standing ovation to Mr. Madoff in federal prison. He created all kinds of wealth, which he destroyed, much like Barbara Boxer, you might say. But in any event, why is this so complicated? I'll tell you why. Because the government doesn't want to let go of its power and its control over you. So there we have it. They want the following generations, that is, future generations, to be absolutely, desperately linked to their power. And they're compelling it. You don't have a choice. You're going to pay into these collapsing programs, you young people, whether you like it or not. So I am pleased to hear these politicians saying what we've been trying to say here over and over and over again for a period of years. Adopt the Goldwater plan. It's the only plan that can possibly work. I'll be right back.